There it goes. Hello, it's video 948. And I had a couple of minutes. It's about 9 o'clock at night, a little after 9. Just had my morning or my evening Bloody Mary. Highly recommended Bloody Mary. Um, so now it's time for the coffee, for the caffeine. Um, but I watched a couple things in tonight's PBS NewsHour. They had a segment about a place, and I can't remember the name. I'm gonna call it Pride, Tennessee. Well, it's not Pride. I don't know. We'll call it Davidson, Tennessee, but it had a name, a short name in Texas. I'm sorry, Texas. We'll call it Denton. There is a Denton, Texas, and it talked about some of the changes that were going on in Denton. Kind of over LGBTQ stuff, and that it interviewed a couple different people in the city. Apparently, the city has been run by what seemed to me to be a religious cult. Okay, in Texas, it was a Christian church. Excuse me. Ish. It was like a religious fundamental. I don't know. It seemed like you couldn't do anything in the town without this cult's belief, permission. And apparently they don't like pride. And they've gone so far as to, there is like a youth group in the town that tries to put on pride, and it's like a contest of wills between these two groups. And the woman who was in charge of the pride group for the children in town kind of had mentioned about, that this other group likes to protest whatever they do. And she said, we've even had things. She says, not anything controversial. She says, when you probably think about drag shows, she said, no. She says, I'm talking about monthly meetings of the support group of the Children's Youth Center. She said, us getting together and doing crafts. She said, there is an organized protest outside of our building to keep the children from coming in to make crafts, to make, I don't know, God's eyes, whatever. And it kind of, I don't know. My question is, and this might be the question of the video is, at what point does it become harassment? They interviewed the leader, the Holy Father, the high brother of command of the cult, and he talked about how he sees it as his mission, that God has sent him on this mission to destroy this pride group, the LGBT group. And he said he does it because he loves the children so much. He wants to keep the evil of the LGBT, from them. And so that's how he sees his mission, his what drives him to organize these protests. And they talked a little bit about, apparently in the Christmas parade, this cult runs the Christmas parade, the town's Christmas parade. And apparently they threw a fit when the LGBTQ people had a float in it. And a big thing in the town, town council, we don't want this, we don't want this. And there were people there going, no, we do want this. You don't want this. But there are people in the town who are fine with this, And I guess it just kind of made me wonder, at what point does it become harassment? you know, someone, it's not so much like, we tend to think of not commercial, capitalism, you see a need, fill a need, and people need sweetener for their coffee, and someone said, oh, well, we'll package them up in these little packets, and you just take it and rip it and there might have been someone who said, oh no, that's evil. You gotta buy a big pound of sugar, and so you would think about the market and what would be, what's popular for people who buy the little packets. It's their right, it's their freedom to choose to use the little packet of sweetener rather than a 5-pound bag of sugar. But what is it about someone who says no, and I'm going to protest the company that makes the packets, and we're going to picket outside the factory, and we're going to, I don't know what else you would do but you know what I mean? Like make it extremely difficult for the company to operate. At what point does it move from being it's your First Amendment freedom of speech right to protest, peacefully protest? But in the case of this youth group in Texas, the people are. It reminded me here in Louisville, we had an abortion clinic downtown. And so the abortion clinic drew these, painted these yellow lines where their property started. And so it was okay to protest on the sidewalk, in the street, in the parking lot. But once you hit private property, you know what I mean? And the protesters would form these human chains of protesters against abortion, and they wouldn't let the people cross, and here you have a woman, or a person I should say, who has decided to get an abortion or talk about it, and they're already in this distressed anxiety, you know what I mean, chaotic, and here they have to cross this line of people who are getting in their way to try and prevent them from doing something. So at what point does it become harassment? It's one thing to, have a, have a sign, but when you obstruct, it seems like that would be harassment. And it would seem like you could call the police or a lawyer and say, you are obstructing my freedom to go into this building. Say what you want to say. Put your sign up. But you cannot block. You cannot prevent. You know what I'm saying? At some point, the thing about the freedom to punch someone else stops at the end of your fist, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be a limit. And I wonder because I saw today several of the mama bears, the free mom hugs people are encountering, and there's another group, they're like the umbrella people or something, where they show up at places with the rainbow umbrellas. There's these huge like golf umbrellas that are rainbow multicolored, and when there's protesters, they'll open up the umbrella, so puts a wall between the protesters and the people, and talking about how they needed people to block and act as not chaperones when someone's coming and going. I can't think of the good word. What is it called? Escorts. To allow, like I said, when someone is protesting to the point that they're keeping, like I said, in the case of, a pride event for teens or children, they're blocking access. It's got to be illegal. There's got to be something that's like, you don't have the right to do that, and it reminds me some of my own crusade, I guess, last year, where I can't really go into it for legal reasons, but the abortion thing, people feel like they have the right to overstep their bounds, to override someone else's free will because they think God is empowering them to do so. Like this guy, this religious leader in this town in Texas. God has given him permission to overstep that bound of personal boundary to block someone else's freedom, and anywhere else in the world, or maybe that's not the right sense, under any other circumstance, you would consider that to be a sign of insanity. If they were to, in my opinion, it's causing harm, it's causing stress. But if someone says, oh, I killed so-and-so because God told me, that's insanity, right? I blew up the bridge because God told me. The invisible voices told me. That's insanity. And these people are causing harm. I realize there's a big difference between blowing up a building and keeping someone from going to a support group meeting, or where they're building potholders. Remember the little loopy potholder thingies you do when you were a kid? You'd weave these little potholders. But like I said, I don't understand. I don't necessarily know where that limit is. And I think that's something that we are going to see, because it seems like it's coming to a border. Also tonight, we talked about people at Target. There was a story about people protesting and actually taking, going to the customer service counter at their Target and cutting up stuff, cutting up their Target credit card, saying, I'm not going to shop here anymore because you sell, that green dress over there, the Pride, whatever. And again, that is their right to not do it. But, at what point do you, at that point you're making a spectacle. You're, which I guess is a protest. But, a couple of weeks ago, there was a thing about one trans woman and a cis friend who got harassed by an old man in the Target changing room. Okay. And, no one said what is this old man doing in the women's changing room? They were like, he's protesting LGBT stuff. And it just, like I said, I don't understand why we allow people to have this, well, it's my religious beliefs. God told me I can do it. Why do we let that? Why is that a thing? You know, if I robbed a bank, well, God told me I could have the money. God told me I didn't have to pay my credit card. God told me I didn't have to pay my student debt. Okay. You know, I just don't, like I said, I don't understand. I don't understand. And I think we're going to see more of it. I think we're going to see more of it. We're going to definitely see in the political arena, you're going to see, every Republican wants to be Donald Trump. And, Trump was an incompetent person who rode his fame into office and I think was a bit stupid and competent. I don't think he was necessarily maliciously evil at first. But people like Ron DeSantis, I mean, they're evil. They know it, and they want to be. You know what I mean? It's not an accident. It is by design. And the hatred, I just don't get the hatred. I don't get the hatred. It's definitely easier to make hate than love. That's true. But I don't know. It's doing some brainstorming. It's a shame because I know with me growing up, I was so afraid of sharing my feelings. I was so afraid. I was so like there wasn't 5 or 6 people holding Bibles telling me I was going to go to hell that made me feel bad. I made myself feel bad. Shame, guilt. You know what I mean? I did it to myself. I can't imagine having real live people forming human chains to keep you from going into a place and make your pride potholders, your little clay ashtrays. I mean, I can't imagine having a real enemy, a real obstacle, rather than it being in here. Like I said, my own shame, guilt, questioning myself. I mean, if I had a physical person telling me, you know what I mean? It adds another level of, just harm. And like I said, this guy in Texas, I love the children so much, and, reminds me of the line from Demolition Man. It's Edgar Friendly's like, oh, what a fucking hero. But anyway, so I don't know, I'm just doing some brainstorming, but I just kind of wanted to make a video. Like I said, I don't know what can be done, but can you imagine? I mean, it's something we have to do now. It's not enough to just expect, a Bible thumper with a bullhorn outside of Pride. You might have armed guys with guns, and body armor and, people that thrive off of chaos and dissension and negativity, Proud Boys and whatnot. I mean, that's some scary stuff, I don't know. When I was growing up in New York City on the subways, they had the guardian angels They wore these red berets, and they were like vigilantes, to ensure that people were not harassed on the subways. I almost wonder if that's something we need. We need the rainbow angels or something. We'll have multicolored berets or sashes or something. And just to make sure, I guess that's what the umbrella people are, the umbrellas. But just to make sure that children and people are not harassed. And I think sometimes it's really all it takes is just someone to be supportive, to have a warm body. You don't have to say anything. Just stand there and smile and, do what Jesus told you. Offer the other cheek, right? Isn't it weird how like non-Christians are more Christ-like than actual Christians as far as loving one another, treating other people as you want to be treated, Anyway, on that note, I will sign off and say I wish you the best of luck in all that you do. Hang in there. I definitely do think things are going to get worse before they get better. Until we get an Equality Act, we're definitely going to have people in the hate Alamo. They've got deep pockets and big bullhorns and lots of guns. And, it's, it's going to take allies to stand with us. We need allies to stand up and say, this is no longer acceptable. What once was the silent majority or whatever is now, people who might have been quieter on the fence really need to stand up and say, and I think the numbers do support that. Every poll that I've seen in the last 2 years, of course, it's what I want to see. But, there are more people that are supportive of LGBTQ people than there are people who are not. And I think that's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. So, all right, hang in there. Sleep tight. Bye.